Hello and good morning to another episode of CoachesCorner.health. I am one of your co-hosts, Leslie Gadet. I'm a self-care specialist for women. I help female entrepreneurs who have great CEO skills but need to incorporate more self-care into their life and business so that it supports them emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Over to you, Andy.
Thank you for that. I love your introduction every time.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Andy, the unconditional coach. I help people set and create unconditional boundaries so that they can create and invite the relationships they decide they want to have rather than the ones they feel they have to have. Instead of creating boundaries to push people away or hold people at a distance that might be dangerous, I help people create boundaries that are an invitation to closer and deeper relationships with the people we love and want to be closer to. That's who we are. And today we have a beautiful discussion for you, one that I myself have had very often with myself as well as many clients. And you and I have had this conversation several times as well. It's an interesting conversation. I'll just do it myself. Is
Mhm.
this is this the problem really, or is it a symptom of a deeper problem? What's actually going on here? So yeah, welcome to our conversation. Why don't you give me your thoughts on this topic, Leslie?
Yeah, actually, and the funny thing is, it could also be someone's solution,
Yes,
right?
as
Uh,
we have put
but
in the title.
yeah, and so yeah, I have actually had to visit this not so much as I used to, but in the very early stages of being a coach, I learned about, and it's not even just being a coach, even like in my professional career as working in law, is having the trust, right? The confidence that someone else will get it right. But
Yes.
that's a mindset thing, right? Is it getting it right because it's based on your specifications, or is it just getting it done so that it is exactly what the project is meant to look to, like the end result? But a lot of the time people look at it, well, it's not only that, but it's, I want it done my way. So instead of actually asking for help or delegating, they say, I can do it myself. I can do it better than anyone else. So I'm just going to do it myself, you know.
Yeah.
So that's my
Yeah.
thoughts on it.
Yeah. And it often is. I can do it better. I can do it faster. Um, Less hassle, less stress. Um, that is often the thought that creates this, and sometimes that is a solution, as you've mentioned. Sometimes that really is just the best way, because asking for help or he- letting somebody else come in and help, or even showing them how to help, might create more problems than it solves. So sometimes that is true. um, on the other hand, the it's a problem when we choose to do things ourselves instead of asking for help because we don't trust other people, because we don't want to take the time to teach somebody else, or to explain our problem, or to ask for help, right? We don't want to take the emotional energy to connect with somebody else on that level. Maybe we don't think we're a good teacher. Maybe we don't think the other person, or the people we might ask, are willing to help, or willing, or are good students, could learn what we're trying to get. Maybe we have some deep-seated trust issues. Maybe this is a symptom of something deeper, of maybe past experiences where we have asked for help, or we have let people come in and help us, and things have gone horribly, horribly wrong. Um, all three of these are possibilities. So, what actually is going on is sometimes difficult to figure out, sometimes difficult to discern really what is going on here. So, let's discuss what some of these possibilities are. When is it a solution? What's your concept of that? When is it a solution for you to actually just do it yourself? When is it better to do it yourself?
Yeah, I think really for me that there's it's just like one answer for myself, and that is if it comes down to timing. because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, it has to be done immediately.
Yeah.
So doing it yourself warrants that you just have to do it yourself, that you cannot delegate it out. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that to me is really the best answer that I can provide, because really the other ideas of just doing it yourself really just comes down to, uh, if, again, like you were saying, is it trusting other people?
Yeah.
Maybe the other thing is, I just do it myself, could just be, um, someone else doesn't really fully have the full picture, and it would take too much time to explain it. So, and again,
Mm-hmm.
coming down to time. So for me, it really all comes back to time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would agree with that when most of the time it is time. For me, it's also been a couple of times as a matter of energy, like emotional energy. Do I want to actually sit down with someone and, ask for the help, or tell them what it is that I need, or take the time to explain the situation to somebody else? Is it something I actually do? I remember certain situations with my ex-wife. If we were having, for example, we'd had an argument the evening before, um, and yet there was something I needed the next day that she's really, really good at, and I'm mediocre at best. Is it worth the potential of trying to navigate this argument to then ask for her? And sometimes the answer was no. Most of the time, I choose to ask anyways. I would choose to ask anyways. And most of the time, if it was something she was really good at and agreed that she also was good at and liked to do, we could set aside the argument long enough to get that thing done, and then go back to resolving whatever the conflict was in the first place. So sometimes that is the solution, is because it's too much time, energy, inconvenience to request somebody else, bring in someone else to help with the solution. And like you've also said, sometimes they just don't they don't understand the big picture the way you do, so they wouldn't solution that would be appropriate. They wouldn't help in a way that would be useful, or it could really you having to rethink yourself anyways. So sometimes that is self. Um, so sometimes that is the case, but how, right?
Yeah,
Um,
so I think we're having a bit of
yeah,
spotty internet
sometimes,
today.
yeah, yes,
Yeah,
we are.
I agree with you. I agree with you about the energy piece as well, because yeah, it sometimes as well, when you're sharing something that's important to you, in your idea of what the outcome should look like, is it can take a lot of energy to really be able to give that other person the, patience
Yeah,
and, the understanding that they might not get your vision. But, sometimes if we allow ourselves to actually have these conversations, we might actually come to realize that this could be a collaboration of minds, where maybe the one way that you had envisioned something, to the process, to the outcome, could actually be better. But again, it also could come down to a deeper problem,
mm,
which could even be because you believe that there is only one way,
yeah,
which could be that you could be, symptoms of
yeah,
perfectionism. But then again, that could also just be a bigger symptom to, a symptom to a bigger problem as well. So, we can go so many levels deep here with this
yeah,
conversation.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. We can. Um, so let's go to the next level. After it's a solution, let's just go to it's a problem. That is the problem. The problem is that doing it myself really is the problem itself. I don't trust other people. I don't want somebody else to do it. I've asked maybe this person to do this thing several times before, and uh, The problem is, if I ask this person again, I'm going to get similar results that I've gotten before, or inadequate for the type of solution I'm looking for. And maybe the problem is because I haven't sat down and taken the time to actually show them what I want. And if we take a few times and actually collaborate together, like you said, have the conversation, communicate a little bit, actually collaborate, figure out what it is we're trying to accomplish, or maybe I'm trying to accomplish, so that the person I'm asking can actually have input or implement a proper solution, whether it's what I want or whether we collaborate and come up with something that's better. Sometimes the problem is that we just won't ask because they won't give us directly what we want. And
Mm.
like you said, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a
Yeah,
good thing they don't give us directly what they want.
yeah. And then also, I'll take it a step further. It could also be that we're not expressing exactly what we need. Because
Yes.
again, sometimes, and you and I have talked about this, we've had to have conversations where they've gone a little bit longer, a little bit more deeper into asking more questions to get to the root that of what we're trying to figure out. So
Yes.
sometimes if you're not going that extra step, it's like leaving uh, the middle open. Like there's this gap that you're not explaining that someone
Yeah.
won't understand. So it's like having half a sentence or half a paragraph, and you're looking for the other half to actually understand what the first part really means. And if you don't have that, then you're left wondering. So maybe that could be one of the reasons why when you are asking for help and you're not getting the results that you are hoping for, that you asked for, it could be that on your side of it, you didn't take enough time to make sure that the other person understood what you said. And I can even just go
Right.
a little deeper on that too, because this will just be an experience of my own. Working in law
Yep.
for many years, and I was working for a lawyer in British Columbia. I was actually subbing in maternity leave for his assistant, and he was very specialized in what he practiced, and so it was a learning curve for me. I had to learn something new, which I always love anyways. And
Yep.
I remember I've always been one, I have my notepad, I'm taking notes. And one day he stopped me in the middle of explaining something and he said to me, and it resonated so much. It kind of stung at first, but then when I started to really think about it, it made so much sense. And he said, stop writing. I want you to hear me first, listen to what I'm saying, so that then I can and then repeat it back so I know that you get exactly what the instruction is, what I'm asking of you. And
Hmm.
it was so powerful because I realized in that moment that writing at the same time as someone is speaking is not necessarily that I'm getting it all, because there could be that gap. There could be that moment where I'm thinking about what I'm writing down and they've said something that's key, that's of value to the instruction.
Yes.
And so that was such
Yes.
a powerful share from him that I've taken with me. And even though
Yeah.
it stung at the beginning, because I thought, well, I'm taking notes. I'm trying to understand what it is you're saying. But then I recognized it was a learning moment. And so again, it could come back to maybe in how you're asking someone to help you with something. Perhaps you could use this as a tool that say, listen, let me explain to you what I'm looking for, have them repeat it back to you, and then let them take the notes again
Yes.
so that they fully grasp the instructions so that you get the result you're looking for.
Yes. Yeah. I love that story. It's great. It's a lesson in how and when to take notes, because it's difficult to take notes on something you don't fully grasp. If you just
Hmm.
write down verbatim what they say, or you write down the short version of what they say, you might get a misinterpreted or corrupted version of what they were asking for. And if the person we're asking for doesn't fully grasp it, then it'll be difficult for us to trust them to do it again and again and again
Hmm.
and again.
Hmm.
And you're in a position that you were going to be asked repeatedly to do similar things.
Hmm.
So it was in his best interest to make sure you understood what he was asking, right? It was your job to do these tasks, however often they might be, whether it's once or 200 times. It's in his best interest to make sure you knew what he was asking, so that we could make the process of asking in the future easier, right? This is one of the things that we don't often consider when we're asking for help. When we say, "I'd just rather do it myself." Um, One of the things we often don't consider is, yes, doing it yourself is faster when you have to explain to somebody what it is you need. But if it's going to be something that you're going to want to ask them to do several times, or maybe many many times, taking the time, that first time, or maybe even a few times, to help them see what it is you're looking for, can really make the process easier down the road. It might take a little more time, a little more stress, a little more emotional energy right now, but down the road, it'll be actually more efficient, because at some point you will be able to just give a short communication as to what it is you're looking for, and be able to just do that because they've learned what your desires are. And that's part of the problem when we just say, "I just rather do it myself." Oftentimes we're missing out on an opportunity to team up, to become quicker, to make the team better. And this does often happen in work type relationships, in professional relationships. It can also happen in personal relationships, like couples and family members and friends and things like that. It can also happen there too, but it's much more common in working type relationships. We don't take the time out. I've had many coworkers say, "I'll just do it myself." When this is our job, we're going to be doing this repeatedly for the next however many years. It would be better if I knew how to do it, or the person I was asking knew how to do it. Um, as you can tell, I've had experiences on both sides where I was asking somebody, and then somebody was refusing to ask me and telling me they'd just rather do it themselves. I've had experiences on both sides of that. Um, and what I've observed is that really is, in the long run, if it's going to be something you need to do more than once, it really is more efficient to take out the time and energy to really collaborate. And let's go back to the point you said in the first place. Oftentimes, when you collaborate, you come up with a much better solution than what either one of you would have had in the first place.
Yeah, and I even, the one thing as well as being in law like this, that I do support a team of lawyers and paralegals, and I've often said that we are only as good, as strong as our weakest link. So if
Mhm.
you are allowing someone's quality of work, or not helping them to learn and to grow, to understand processes, to do an efficient job in tasks that they have been allocated, really the level of the firm's their standing is really only as good as their weakest link. And so I always believe, regardless of what level of that you are serving in your community, whether you're working uh, as the leader of a team, or you're working as one of the members of a team, is that
Mhm.
if you are not equally allowing each other to have your strongest skills, cultivated, and being able to
Mhm.
help each other on the skills that maybe you need more assistance with, then your team is not at the level where you think where it should be, really. If you think
Where
that
it
just
could be,
because
yeah.
where you if you even if you do accomplish a goal, if that goal took you 3 or 4 hours longer than it could have if you had taken the time to actually make sure everyone was on, at the same level of understanding. Just because you accomplish that goal doesn't mean that that's a great thing as well to really celebrate, unless you really take the time to make sure that your team is at full capacity, everyone, including the
Yeah.
ones that are still taking a little bit extra time to understand. I think it just
Yeah.
makes it for a much more well-rounded company, business, team, the quality of work. And again, like we've said, is that solution or that outcome that you thought in the beginning when you first started discussing it could become so much greater because everyone's on board, everyone understands, everyone's taking the time to collaborate, everyone's taking the time to lift each other up and make sure each other understands. And that's something I think just even going into coaching, I try to really talk to my clients around this. Is especially the women that are in business, you know, they are looking at some point to have a team. Well, the team can be great as long as you are able to like have those systems in place that you are fully understand and you're willing to take the time to teach someone else. Because when you if you
Yes.
hold to that model of I'll just do it myself, that makes it really hard to grow, scale your business effectively, but also it keeps you doing things that take up a lot of your time, that if you just took time, just that the first few times of explaining to someone, of getting them on board, of teaching them what you know what your methodologies are and how what you need from them, when you take that time to do it, it frees up so much time down the road. That's the ultimate goal. And I think a lot of people miss that. They
Yes.
think, oh, no, forget it. I'm just going to do it myself because I don't have the time. Now, again, like I said in the beginning, if there is a real time crunch and you have to do it yourself, that's one thing. But if it's something because you're fearful, oh, they haven't done it before, they've messed up before, maybe take a closer look at how you're teaching them and take that, you know, what I said as an idea to make sure they understand it by having them repeat it back to you before they're taking the notes. It's so important. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what my thoughts are.
Yeah. Yeah. And on the time crunch subject, it yeah. If you're having the crunch repeatedly, if you're going into the same situation and you're finding over and faster to do it myself, that's another symptom when really it's worth putting that extra time in, that extra emotional energy in, that extra effort in, even if it does may mean something is late or something is, not as optimal as it could be, because in the future it'll make your future situations better, more efficient. And and as you mentioned, it does make the whole organization work better when everybody's work level is higher, when we help everybody on the team do their best work, um, and not just the best of what they're capable of right now, but what the best of what they're potentially capable of, based on how much they can learn and how much we can teach them and how much we can help them grow. And the other part of that is we just have happier teams. Morale goes up, productivity goes up, everybody's loves going to work, because not only are we getting more done, people love being productive at work. If I find that I'm doing everything myself, I'll often feel resentful because nobody else can do what I'm
Mm,
doing.
right.
Not always, but often I will. And and the people working under me will also feel resentful sharing my skills with them. I'm not helping them learn to do better at their jobs. Not just the people under me, but the people around me. Even I've even worked for bosses who felt inadequate because they couldn't do what I do. And sometimes if I had to take a sick day, somebody had to do it. And sometimes that was my boss. So it isn't just the people under you. And it is not always even your equals. It could be even people above you. If we just do it ourselves, we are limiting the potential of our business, of the company we're working for and working with. Sometimes that's the problem. And it's limiting the potential of the company, but it's also limiting our work life balance, the joy, it's limiting the options that everybody in the company can have. You'll find often that toxic companies are made up of people who just do it themselves. So that's another way that it is the problem, right? And again, these things can happen in our personal lives as well, in those same relationships. So if this relates to you in a different kind of relationship, the rules stand. sometimes it's just easier to teach them how to help you. And so you can collaborate and come up with a better solution. And even if you do end up having to just do it your way, showing them how is always easier in the long run if you're doing it more than just the one time, right?
Yeah, and yeah, I love that. I think too, when you're talking about in the workplace as well, there's also sometimes where encountered this over the last 40 years, so because I have a lot of experience of particular people in specific positions where I've always been one to want to help. If I'm not busy, I want to be busy. I just don't like
Yeah.
sitting around, in an office space with nothing to do. And it's been very rare. But in those moments when I've actually had more time, I've actually reached out saying, how can I help you? There are
Mhm.
certain people who have that idea of there's a fear around around actually asking anyone for help. And so they insist on doing it themselves. They don't want to teach their
Yes.
methodologies. They don't want to really give you too much because there's a fear that if you are seen to do a job just as well as they can, that
Mhm.
threatens their position. And so how do you deal with
Yes.
that, right? Because again, for me, I would just push back and say, but wouldn't it be better for you that if you had to, like you were saying, take a sick day, you wanted to go on vacation with your family, you don't want to come back to your desk piled high with work that was left undone and with new work coming in and feel overwhelmed. Wouldn't you rather come back to a well-oiled machine? It doesn't mean that you're indispensable to that position. It just means that you've allowed someone to sit in for you while you're away to make it efficient and easy and flow for your boss, so that when you come back, you can just sit back in and get back as if you had never skipped a beat. And it always really it made me always take a pause when I would encounter these women who were fearful of asking for help or fearful of teaching what they knew about their position only to a certain skill level, because there was
Hmm.
this inherent fear that if you do a good job, that could be at the same level as I am, they might put you in my position. And I've never been one to go and sit in someone's chair and say, "Oh, I feel right at home here. I'm going to take their job." It's just never crossed my mind.
Right.
So it's just what would
Yeah.
you say to someone like that, or a personality trait to that? Like, what are your thoughts around that?
Um, First of all, that is the symptom conversation for sure. That
Mhm.
is definitely a symptom of something deeper. I'm scared of losing my position. What would I say is, if nobody else can do your job, you also don't get a promotion. If you don't train somebody else to do your job as well as you do, there's no reason for you to move out of that job to something better, right? You don't get to something better. If nobody can do what you do, they're not going to move you somewhere else. And if you have to quit, or get hit by a bus, or something, they're going to have to figure it out anyway. So you might as well help them figure it out and make the whole company better, and make you and everybody else enjoy working there more. If you're fearing somebody unknowing as much as you do, because, and I ran into this often, uh, I used to call it manager syndrome, because in the retail stores that I would work at, a lot of the managers wouldn't share the details of what the expectations were given to them from above. They wouldn't share those details because they were scared that I knew those details, then I'd be able to do their job and they'd become irrelevant. But I couldn't do my job to the best of my abilities without knowing most of those details. Um, so if we don't share even the intricacies of my job, then A, I can't go on holidays or take sick days, and B, I don't have the opportunity to move up, and C, it is a symptom of something deeper. It's an insecurity within me, and any insecurities that I have that I don't address, they'll hold back my job, my relationship with my work. They'll hold back the company, and they will, if it's in a personal relationship, they'll hold back those relationships too. It's difficult for your relationships to grow in your family, in your partners, in your friends. It's difficult for those situations to grow, get stronger, and become more intimate or more enjoyable if we don't share those things that make it great for us. The symptom that of doing it myself is a loner symptom. It's the reason why so many people don't like other people, because I don't trust them to do what I want. I don't trust them to have my best interests at heart. And if you don't trust people to have your best interest at heart, how do you know you have theirs? Like, how do
Hmm.
you know you have their best interest at heart? And oftentimes, this is a symptom of somebody who's been deeply hurt by different kinds of relationships, often at work. I've had clients, I've had family members, I've had friends who don't want other people to know how good they are at their job or what they're doing to get that good, because they're scared of losing their position. And then I've known several of them who've lost out on promotions because nobody else could do their job.
Hmm.
Um, do you really want to limit yourself to that position? I mean, even if it's the top or next to top position in the company, do you really want to stay there, or do you maybe want to bring the company up more so that you can make more money, get more productive, get more done, or maybe go to a different company that has more to offer? I mean, there could be all kinds of opportunities that letting somebody else know what you do brings you. The more you share with other people, the more people admire you. The more they know what to do with your job, the more they admire you, the more opportunities you have. If you want to limit yourself, the quickest way to do it is do it yourself.
Yeah, I so agree with you there, especially too if you're only willing to share only so much, or you're stubborn and you want to continue doing things yourself. Again, it limits you from ever getting that promotion that maybe you're looking to do. Because how can you step into a promotion if it has, say, a time limit to it, saying within 2 weeks I need you to step into this promotion, and now you have 2 weeks to train someone, and how can they learn what you've been doing for, say, 5 6 years within a 2 week period, especially if they're really busy also in the position training someone else to take over what they're doing. I really think it's so important that even not even just employees but leaders of the companies start recognizing this as well. If you see
Yeah,
somebody in a position where they're doing really well but you're seeing others not so much, maybe that's time for you to speak up and address that, with your top level people, to say, look, this person, excuse me, needs more of your needs more guidance, needs a little help in these areas, or
yeah,
reach out to them, figure out how you can help bring them up, because it means like you're bringing everybody along. And again, I will never stop saying this, but you're only as strong as your weakest link. So if your weakest link is going to keep bringing you back, that means that you will never be able to step into new promotion. That means that there is another place that maybe you cannot go further in the company that you're in, and there's something else that you want to do. But then what ends up happening is, if you want to go to another job somewhere else where you have something even bigger and better to do, but you leave the previous company, without the resources to actually fill their position well, and they have to start from scratch. Uh, and you might say, well, that's not my problem, it's not my responsibility, but I hold this to be one of my, um, part of, I guess, my personality, and is
yeah,
I don't burn bridges. Meaning,
yeah,
even if I had a job somewhere where there was one person I didn't get along with, I always tried to keep good relations. I always did my best in my position so that when I moved on, they weren't left, with nothing. I always tried to make sure that they were set up for someone to step into the position that I had just left, meaning I left a full detailed instructions if I wasn't able to fully train someone. but everything I learned, I would give that person in a book. I would actually create a binder of everything where you could find it, links, everything, you name it. And to me, that just allowed that new person stepping in to have greater ease to start, filling that position easier. It made the people who hired them a little more at ease, knowing, okay, they have some tools to use. But it also made me feel better that I wasn't just leaving them, and I could go on, and my conscience could feel good that I could go on to my next wherever it is I would go, because my husband and I have been moving around to different places. So
Yeah.
that happened often. And then again, here's the flip side to this, or should I say, this is some of what I've benefited from having this mindset through my entire 40 years. Is, when we have lived in different places and I've decided I'm going to go somewhere, many of the positions that I have acquired have happened in phone interviews and just a formal stepping into the office when I arrive to sign the paperwork and I'm hired. So
Yeah.
it really is important to share your knowledge, to share your skills with each other, because it makes it a more enjoyable place to go. And you don't feel like you have like the world on your shoulders and you have nobody to lean on, nobody to help
Right.
you, because you're so stubborn and saying, nope, I don't want anyone to do it because I can do it myself, or I'm afraid someone's going to take look at the person that is coming up beside me learning what I do, that they're better and I'll be pushed out. And usually that's not the case. So
Right.
that's just my thoughts on it.
Yeah. I agree with you. Um, it does when we team up with other people, when we collaborate with our coworkers, whether they're of the same level as us or above or below, when we collaborate, work together, and create together, and ask for help, and allow each other to come in and learn each other's jobs, and know more about what's going on, we we tend to have more of well, as you've mentioned many times, a productive company. Our job is more productive. Our company is more productive. We get more done in less time. We make more money in the long run. We serve our clients and customers just that much better. But also, we personally get a reputation within the company, and often outside the company with other versions of that company, with competitors and vendors and clients. We get a reputation of being a team player. And ask me, if you put team player on a resume anywhere, if they'll say, no, we don't want that. Right? Every employer, every company, every job is looking for a team player. And if you put it on a resume, great. But if your past employer says, yeah, that person's a team player, that says a lot more than you putting on your resume.
Mm-hmm.
That's what comes from asking for help, from helping people learn to do their job better, to do even your job. That's what comes from collaborating, from helping each member of the team do the best that they can. That's what comes from making sure that if there's a gap, maybe I can fill that gap, or maybe I can find someone else that can fill that gap. One of the things that you mentioned really love is that sometimes we can help the leadership learn where there's a gap somewhere else, not to fire the person, not to replace them with somebody who's better, but to give them some special attention. Please, leadership, give this person some special extra attention so they can learn to do their job better, learn what your expectations are more clearly, so that we can all do a better job at our jobs, so that
Mm-hmm.
we can all be better at what we do, so that I can work with that person, so that you can work with that person, so everybody else can work with that person as well. And they love working with us. That also makes you a team player. Sometimes leadership doesn't see those things. Sometimes they're blind to some of these situations. They don't know what's going on. So again, bring it to their attention. Not, please, you need to fire this person, but I think this person needs a little more of your attention. They're struggling in this particular area. I think they could use a little more training. Would you give it to them? right?
Mm-hmm.
Or help them to learn it. That also makes us a team player, and it does make the company more money. It will get you promotions faster, and it'll make everybody more happy at their jobs, including you. One of the things that I want people to understand is that when we talk about adding culture to a company, when we talk about um, adding adding to the company, not just in a productivity and profitable way, but also a culture add. And there are many of the big companies that have been talking about culture for decades. What they're talking about is that, do you bring the ability to bring the team closer? Are you there to help the team become a stronger team? Not just, can you do your job well, but can you help everybody else do their job well? At least everybody that's within your circle, that's within your influence. Obviously, if you're a company of 3,000 people, you're not going to help 3,000 people get better at their jobs, but you might help 5 or 20, right? The people
Yeah.
that are in your influence, right? And
Yeah.
that's what this looks like.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny that you were saying that because one of the things that I've been working on, which we've talked about, was about being a really good assistant, like having that mindset of being a good employee. Really, is what it's about. And being a team player is part of one of the pillars, and it's not just being able to do your job well, but it's giving encouragement to others in your team, supporting your work peers, assisting
Yeah,
in projects and problem solving, coming up with new ideas to make work more fun and enjoyable and less stressful. And again, like you were saying, adopting that culture add mindset. Like, what can you add to the team? You've got experience from other places. So what of your skill sets can you add? How can you add value? What skill set can you add to the company that enhances performance and betters the company culture, right? There's all of these questions around being a team player. It's just not about, oh, I work well with others. It's really having a mindset of not just thinking, I'll just do it myself. Because you've heard this saying before, there is no I in team. So
right,
again, it's recognizing that it's not about you, and especially if you are working for someone else. But again, this also goes to people who are the employers, who are
yeah,
in leadership roles. It's not an I mentality. It should be a team mentality. I always like to say to my team members that I support that teamwork makes the dream work. And I think it's like encouraging them. I always like to make sure that they know that they're doing a good job, because there can be many moments when they can feel defeated because they make mistakes. I am the person that comes up behind them to clean up things that might have gone wrong, or to make sure the files are all completed before they get sent off. And so it can be hard to, if you're only hearing that, oh, I made this mistake, oh, you did that wrong, instead of like, oh, you did a job well done, great job, thanks for doing this. It's That's part of being a team player. It's not just what skill sets you bring, and that you work in it well within a team environment on a project doing your part is encompassing all. So
right,
I like to look at it as this
right,
analogy. When a file comes into our office, into the office of the people that I support, and I want to I'd ask the question, who is responsible for this loan? And the answer would be every single member of the company, because one loan could
yeah,
be touched by many different people. And if somebody is out sick, that means someone else has to jump in. So when you make sure that
right,
not only you do your job well, but people know what you're doing and how you do it, it makes that much easier for someone to step in and go, oh, okay, I see where you've left off. This is what will help make team environments more cohesive, but more enjoyable to be working together, right? So I'll just do it myself, yes,
right,
can sometimes be the solution when you're really busy and there's a time crunch and it's got to be done now. But then there's also that bigger picture. It could actually, in the long run, be a burden to you if that's what you always do, and you never allow yourself to actually, free up space so that you can actually do more things that are different, that you're learning and growing
Right.
and allowing yourself to, your skill sets to get much more enhanced. And you're bringing someone else along that teaching them and their learning skill sets, meaning you could be teammates together, equal level, and you could be in the leadership role of your teammate because you're bringing them along, and vice versa. Ripple effect. They're doing the same for their teammates that are coming along. I mean, that to me makes it a powerful community when you can do that within the work environment. So yeah.
Yeah,
Are you there?
exactly. It
Look at
does. Yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly that. I can hear you. Um, exactly that. It does create a much better company to be a part of. It creates a much better company to participate in. And one of the things that I thought of as you were talking is one of the things that we don't do, that we don't put enough focus on, is asking people for help that are actually interested in doing that thing. I worked
Mm,
for several companies who wanted every person to have every skill. So they wanted us to cross train for every position in the company. And that removes the option for people to have strengths and weaknesses. They wanted, by doing so, they were ignoring the strengths that we had and asking us to build up our weaknesses. In other words, 98% of our energy was focused on the things we're not good at, and very little energy was focused on the things we were good at. When I run a team, and I've run several teams, when I run a team, I do two things. I ask everybody what they want to do. I ask everybody to do a little bit of everything to test where their skill sets are. And then I train them in the things they're good at and the things they want to do. I give them a minimum level of skills in those things they don't want to do, because we do need to be able to cover those skills, those areas. But I give them a minimum level of training in those things that they don't want to do and they're not good at. And then I focus most of my attention on those things they are good at and that they want to do, so that the team focuses on our strengths and we learn to collaborate. What happens when I run teams that way is I tend to spend almost all of my time helping the team members get better, and almost none of my time doing their job. I don't spend much time actually doing their job. A lot of leaders actually just do the jobs of the people under them because they don't trust them to do it themselves. So I'll just do it myself. Well, what do you have a team for, right?
mm-hmm.
Um, or they'll get mad when that person or those people don't do what they ask them to do because I haven't time to focus on their strengths. I'm focusing on the things they're not good at. Um, well, no wonder they're not going to be able to do as good of a job as you want them to do. If you focus, if you ask a fish to climb a tree and you spend 10 years teaching him how to climb a tree, he's never going to get good at climbing that tree, right? But if you help him learn how to swim better, you're going to have a better fish, right? It's the help people do what they're good at and they like to do. And if you have several people on your team, chances are there are lots of crossover where people like to do each other's jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So part of the I'll just do it myself mental attitude is not not being willing to help people see where they're good at, where their strengths are. It's about, I'm focusing on the things they're not good at. For example, I've worked on an IT team where guys were really crappy at talking to other members of the team. They weren't very good at communicating with other members of the team. But as coders, as problem solvers, as IT guys, they were brilliant. So we needed them on the team. So what I did is I just made sure that there was people who could communicate with them, with those two guys, and then those people who could communicate with those two guys would then go and communicate with the rest of the team. So I made sure we had some communicators on the team as well to fill that gap, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
I made sure that we had some. Then I made sure that we had some people who could talk to management or the public, or it's about having different skill sets, and again, not just one, but a couple, so in case one goes on holidays or things like this. So the idea is, if you if we help each other do our best, we'll always have a better company to work for, and a company that makes more money, gets more done, and has happier customers and clients. And I think this is where it really does come down to: is this the problem? Is this a solution? Or is this a symptom of a deeper problem? Oftentimes, it's a symptom of a deeper problem. In the case that I was talking about, a lot of companies that I have worked for believe that the only way to solve this problem is by making sure everybody knows how to do everything. But that just minimizes, it makes everybody into a cookie cutter. It makes everybody into a washed out version of what they could be. It lets nobody realize their potential, and it makes everybody focus on the things they're not good at. So, let's talk about what the companies can do better, what each member of the company can do best, and help the company become better at what they do. It's all one big collaboration. That's what companies do. And if you're the leader of those companies, the more you do for other people, the more you help other people do what they do best, the less you have to do yourself, as you mentioned already. I've I've seen several entrepreneurs who hire all kinds of people, and this is what made me think about it. You were talking about people who just do it themselves, rather like entrepreneurs and leaders who just do it themselves, and they don't teach other people how to do it. Sometimes that's because they hired somebody that wasn't very good at that position, but that person would have been great for a different position,
Mm-hmm.
right? So sometimes it's just a matter of figuring out what somebody's good at, let them do that, and stop trying to make
Yeah.
them do things they're not good at.
Yeah, no, I love what you said about, and again, having, being a leader, training others to lead. I think that was really what I got from what you were saying, having, knowing the skills of the
Yes.
people in on your team, and then teaching them, helping them cultivate their strengths. And I think with that, it makes them happier, it gives them more confidence. And again, even though they might learn some of the other skills that they're not that great at, it, because you've given them confidence to, because that you believe in the skills that they do have, it might even give them the confidence and the courage to actually maybe put a little bit more effort into learning a little bit more about those things that they're not as good at, so that they can at least fill those roles temporarily if they're
Yes.
needed. And I think that's really
Yeah.
important. And I love that. And as I said, they might ask. What I'm thinking is they'll ask to learn other things when when you're bringing up their confidence level on the things that they're already good at, and you're showing them that you're willing
Yeah.
to like cultivate those. To me, it's like when you were saying, when they want you to know everything. I've been in environments like that where they want you to know every position, and it's like, well, that's great. However, what you're doing then is you are diluting my skills, and I'll give you a C average across the board if you want me to do five different things.
Right.
Whereas if you take my strengths, and maybe there's three of them and two of them are not so much, you build me up in my strengths so I get, A's or B's across the board, and that's where we're focusing on. And those things that maybe I can have a little bit more, maybe another leader in the team can help you with those two levels of skill sets that maybe they're not that great. And if I'm willing to learn that, but sometimes we're forced to do things that maybe we just don't like, or we just don't have the confidence to do. And when you do that to someone and they make mistakes, all you're doing is undermining your employees. They're not going to be happy. Your team isn't going
Right.
to be happy, and that's why I think a lot of companies that I've, especially some of the companies I've worked for, have had a lot of turnaround, as they've had the reputation of a revolving door because
Yeah.
people come and go that quickly. And is it necessarily the people that they're hiring? Maybe, but maybe again, like you were saying, it could be you're hiring them for the wrong position when
Yeah.
they could actually fill the need in somewhere else. I truly
Yeah.
believe that it really comes down to the leaders, actually, the leaders of the company, the owners. It really is on them to become more aware around this, because if they want people to become culture adds to their company, what can they bring that will help that company flourish? They also have to recognize, what can I bring to the table for the people that I'm hiring, the leaders I'm hiring, the staff I'm
Yes.
hiring? Where do I see my vision for my company going? Really is important. And that's why you'll see a lot of coaches out there who are going into these companies, peak performance coaches that are
Yeah.
going into these companies and helping the leaders of the team and then their team members to adopt this mindset, because
Yes.
they want to grow. They want to see their bottom line grow, but they also want to see productivity. They want to see happier employees. They want to then see that ripple effect of happy clients and customers. And so it's not just on the people who work under someone. It's on the entire company. And so, like I said, I'll bring it back. When a file comes into our office, from the top level all the way down to the last person, and it's not that I'm on the bottom, because I do a very important job, but all the way from the beginning of the file to the end of the file, every member of the team of this firm, no matter whether they touch it for 5 minutes or a day or whatever, we are all equally obligated to make sure we share with each other our knowledge, our skills, and help each other to get that one file through through the office and get it closed and out the door. And that to me is what a team would be all about, is recognizing that as a collective, are responsible for every new matter together,
Yes.
regardless of whether we work on it or not. And
Right.
so for me, that it's something I'm passionate about. You probably can tell, but it's for me because I really truly care about this company. And it's one of the
Yeah.
companies that I've been working with for a few years now, almost 7. And I really believe that they have started to really recognize the importance of culture and
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
type of methodology.
Yeah. And that's significant. It makes companies so much better to work for, so much easier to work with, and it makes us as entrepreneurs um, so much more capable of running an effective and powerful team.
Hmm.
Like you said, it lets us scale. So I'm all over that. I think we're wrapping up. So thank you everybody for watching, for participating in this conversation, for sitting with us as we delve into this convoluted and complicated topic. Discovering whether it's the problem, the solution, or a symptom, it can be quite difficult. Um, Thank you for joining us. Please subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, so that you get the notifications when we go live. Also, comment what you thought of this particular topic, or any topic we've talked about on any of our videos. Comment again if there's something that you want to hear more about. We're interested in your thoughts and experiences. We want to know what you have to say. Um, like this video. When you press that little like button, it shows YouTube that you liked what this was, and it helps YouTube decide, oh, if this person likes it, maybe somebody else will like it too. So it shows it to more people. It helps it get around the internet. It helps us get our word out. And it helps YouTube decide that, hey, maybe what these people have to say is important. Let's get this message out to more people. So thank you for that. Also, like, subscribe, comment, and then last of all, share this with somebody else you think might benefit from this content. Whether it's this video or one of our other videos, we have several now. Um, there's plenty to listen to, plenty to learn from. We got plenty of conversations that we have had. There's many things that you can share with other people. We'd appreciate that. The more you do those things, the more YouTube gets it out. The more you do those things, the more people we can help. And of course, we want to help you more. We're going to keep doing this as long as we can. And we would love it if you'd help us get the message out, get it to more people, and get it to the people that you think could benefit the most. Thank you for your time and attention.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Andy, for another great conversation. Love the topic. As you can tell, we could probably have kept going, but definitely we like to keep these to an hour. So thank you so much again
Yes.
for watching. We are excited to keep going and bring more value to you, our community. We hope you have a great rest of your Saturday, a fabulous week ahead, and we'll see you next Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Bye for now.
Bye bye, everybody.